Not exactly hidden. I told you to turn it down. There's a Leviathan checking out the repeller beacon. She snarls down to her idiot niece. Stupid girl has no idea how close they came to utter disaster. The freshly muted news feed is showing several of their highest-ranking money girls being marched into the back of patrol cars with glaring princesses to assure compliance. Isn't the whole point of those things to chase them away? The idiot asks, as for a moment her heart skips a beat. There was a figure, clearly male, that was sitting in a tree that outright vanished a moment later. There were no horns, though, so maybe it was her imagination. They get curious every now and then. If it hears more than the drone of the beacon, the odds of it taking a bite go up, and with how the axiom in those monsters move, it would eat rock if it cared for the taste. Meaning our ship could be a great big Leviathan snack with a gooey center if you don't shut up. She explains in the tone to indicate just how much of a drooling idiot she thinks her niece is for needing this to be said. Why is the base even here? Wouldn't a space station or some special mountaintop condo be better? The almost terminally stupid girl demands as she puts the subtitles on and goes into sulk mode. Because those are easier to find, you idiot. Not to mention there's no chance of the dark forest being down here. Oh, here we go. Oh, the bone chewer's coming for you. Ooh, the stupid girl says and is grabbed around the mouth and pulled in close. Don't mention that name. Ever. She snarls down with sparks of war fire flickering out to die on her skin. Her niece nods as she sees the pure, uncut rage in her eyes, and she all but throws the idiot back into her plush seat. She straightens her hair back a little. I'm getting a drink. With that, she leaves. Everything had gone wrong, and they had damn near gotten a second bone chewer. Whoever the fuck started this had better be dead already, because if she's not... Her thought process cuts off as there's a slight blip from her communicator. She pulls it out and raises an eyebrow. Someone's turned on the jammers. Why? She marches up to the nearest wall terminal and activates it. Security, come in. Why is the jammer on? There's no answer. She presses the buttons for the helm, and there's nothing. The engine room is just as quiet, and medical is more of the same. She looks up and sees the slight light on the security camera housing. Not only is it on, but it's tracking her like it's supposed to. She waves at it and points to the wall panel. For a moment it activates, audio only, and the sound of something snapping is heard. Like what happens when you're sharing a meal with an herbivore, all the crunchy things they go for. Security, what is going on? She demands, pressing the call button, and it activates again, audio only, and there's the sound of something dripping. It's obnoxiously loud, like something's dripping onto the receiver. The lights cut out and the red emergency lights flicker on to replace them. There's cursing from her niece, and she can hear the Leviathan just outside now that there's not an entire ship's worth of white noise in the way. Shut up! She snarls down the hallway as she can just imagine the hundreds of gigantic teeth just waiting for an excuse. It was long ago. I did truly know. My brother's smiling face. A voice echoes out at a soft whisper, the voice low and deep and slow. We played and raced and laughed and sang in a loving, shining place. Zol, Zol, brother true, a song and blood for you. No, it couldn't. This fortress was her sanctuary, the place she built to keep him away. Until loss of you is eschewed, with vengeance true. Aunt Ulath? What's going on? Her niece mutters, showing the sense to be afraid. Get to the life pods. Get to the teleporters. Get to anything. Run, Veer. Just run. She commands and breaks into a sprint with her niece not far behind her. He's here. He's found us. We need to run. But if we take the pods, the Leviathans might get us. Better eaten alive than what he'll do. He's real. It did not end well, and from the pits of hell came the cruel and the disgraced. The low voice of the bone chewer whispers out, somehow so close they can almost feel his breath in their ears, but he's nowhere to be seen. With greed, their sin, and lust within, they sought to have a taste. Yes, he's real. There's a reason why only the very bottom and the very top know we're the Orega girls. The bottom to be fed to this monster and us to reap the rewards. Ulath snarls at Veer. They nearly skid around a corner and rush to the nearest teleportation room. The door opens and they stop. The chamber is completely dead with even the emergency power out. Roots are starting to crack out between the floor panels and vines from the walls as the ceiling slowly buckles in. Vier takes off for the next chamber at a dead sprint. Ulath takes after her just a heartbeat later, but is still met by a closed and barred door. He bid me flee and could not follow me to the forest where it was safe. The taunting song whispers in her ear as she smashes at the door, still feeling her niece's life force. His muffled yells were my personal hell until his limbs they did break. The door opens and then she instantly runs away before she even fully register what had happened to Vier. That horrific shape, too wide, too thin, too much, everything all at once. Something grabs her ankle and she slams into the deck plating. Before she even hits the ground, something wraps around her head and gags her silent. And to this day, I can only say, it follows in cruelest grace. The low, soft song continues. This time she can feel the breath against her ear as she's lifted up. Unable to move in general as something screws with her axiom as plants writhe around her until she's completely cocooned. Then they start to tighten. Well, isn't this a lovely surprise? I remember you, the soft voice says, and clad in a dark suit. Brinchar the Bone Chewer steps around her and into her field of vision, tiny vines and roots writhing along his hands, neck, and hairline. It's been, 600 years. How have you been? Keeping well, I hope? She's unable to answer as the vines and roots tighten despite everything she does to them. Slicing them with axiom just causes them to squeeze harder on either side of the laceration, and summoning up a storm of blades and shredding the plant matter causes it to just press in as somehow still living mulch and squeeze down even worse. It is rather clever of you to use your axiom to resist the pain and try to teleport away. Unfortunately, I'm a rather obsessive sort. I know my way around that, Brinchar says in the same low, soft tone and pokes her in the forehead. The agony she'd been holding back rushes in, and her focus breaks just enough that her bones are forcibly ground together by the vines to collapse in on things. Her body is contorted into a single thin pillar wedged against the floor and ceiling with her organs, somehow still attached and alive, hanging at random. She can hear her panicked heartbeat as something refuses to let her die or pass out from the pain. Tears and mucus flow freely to join the stench of her leaking bowels, and he softly dabs her eyes to clean away the tears. You made my brother into meat to be sold. Now you're meat yourself. Fun, isn't it? He asks softly. He then reaches down, still feeding her axiom energy to stop her from dying as he pulls her head off the crushed mass that was once her body and turning it around as the vines let go of her mouth. Without lungs, she cannot scream. Her mouth simply works as she beholds her own distorted corpse. And then the energy cuts off, and death is allowed to take her. On the opposite end of the world, the decapitated head is placed in a small alcove angled downward as if in shame. There are many horned Apuk skulls looking down to the sarcophagus, carved in the shape of a child at rest. He glances towards the ancient monument, and with a wave of his hands, the moss and vines retreat from the base, revealing a childish song carved in the stone. It was long ago. I did truly know. My brother's smiling face. His voice echoes out despite being barely audible. Someone deep in the complex moves. We played and raced and laughed and sang in a loving, shining place. What is happening? she growls to herself as she beholds the moss-infested cargo bay. Where dozens of slaves in stasis were is now a thick carpet of vegetation, as if it had grown expressly to swallow all the product whole. This is bad. They could recover from everything happening topside if only they kept enough kids to use as barter and get back on their feet. Still, this isn't the only place. These ones were just held in stasis for a few years so the heat could die down first. An easy tactic to chill the trails that investigators and their like follow. She crosses down the hall to check the next storage bay, and the door outright opens to a tangle of overgrown vines hanging from the ceiling. She brushes them aside as a strange whisper prickles at the edge of her hearing. "Zol, Zol, brother true, a song and blood for you." "What?" she asks. "Until loss of you is eschewed, with vengeance, true." The whisper continues as she peers inside. She draws her war sword, serrated and with Kutha-gilded runes to allow it to channel multiple elements. She carves through the vines and starts poking around. Is there anything left? There's 50 children to the room, and now a full 100 are missing. In dappled glades and forest shades, I grew in strength and shame. The voice whispers as she hacks at more and more of the vines. For though he was not there, I knew most clear that Zul faced only pain. She turns to leave to find that the path she had carved is already overgrown. She starts to slice her way out in a fury. Someone's fucking with her. Some absolute bitch thinks that she can scare her by making her think that he bared their sin upon his skin until it collapsed within. She turns and spots a figure in the vines, male dressed darkly and with madness in his eyes. "It's not a joke. You're really here." She teleports out of the room and feels something grabbing through rifts in time and space after her. Her sword severs the vines and she sprints as hard as she can. She doesn't bother with words or useless pleading as she rips off the strangling vines and races hard. If she can get to one of the teleportation chambers or a life pod. She staggers back at the sight of Vier, her entire body except her still gagged head crushed flat and stretched across the chamber. Her horns are embedded in the ceiling, and her arms and legs are tied into the corners. The innumerable bumps along her skin tell a story of a slow and sadistic death as the internals begin pooling along the lower body. Everything but the skull and horns reduced to so many shards. It is the bone chewer. She races away. That way is no doubt already booby-trapped, and she skids to a stop as she beholds someone. Someone else is dead and their body reduced to a pillar of gore with her entrails scattered around the base in a twisted parody of a towering tree. There's no head, but he never took the heads. Not that she knew. Oh, it was long ago. I did truly know my brother's smiling face. The whispering is back. She races away and finds the doorway to the nearest teleporter to be barred, so she does something else. She goes for the bulkhead and slams her sword through the wall and wrenches it to the side to let her tear it open. If she can get the ocean in here, that should distract him long enough to... There is a hole in the side of the underwater base, and no water is leaking in. Why is no water? We played and raced and laughed and sang in a loving, shining place. The whisper continues, even as a pair of hands peels back the wall from the outside to reveal a face. A very familiar face. "You're dead. I killed you," she says, backing away. The bone chewer is pain and death. This, the dead returning, is something else. "Am I?" the ghost says, examining itself. "Must be why I can breathe underwater." "Huh? How?" she demands, even as the metal of the bulkhead inexplicably shuts by itself and the hull begins to seal shut again. There was no axiom use. "I killed you. I spawned my first clutch out of your overdosing corpse." "Did you?" a growling voice asks from behind her. She turns and is seized around the mouth by the bone chewer, whose eyes glow with an unholy fury. "I didn't think you'd go through the hull. Credit where it's due." She rams the sword into his side, and it completely fails to penetrate anything other than his formal shirt. My wives bought this for me, but speaking of family, you apparently stole some from me, in more ways than one. She whimpers as the vines and roots crisscross over her body and start digging into her skin. I think we need to talk, Missy, about my brother's children. A scream cuts its way through the ship. Those that were asleep wake up and gather together to try and take stock of the situation. Their communicators are jammed. No one is answering, and they're on emergency power. The consensus reached is that the Leviathan they can hear right above them has done something, likely expressed some kind of electrical ability and put everything on the fritz. Annoying, but solvable. People are missing, though. Half the engineering crew, the Helms girls, aren't anywhere to be found, and security is absent too. Sure, the Fortress has a small crew of 30 with extra for cargo and passengers, but being down all the crew and 3 passengers is beyond. Zol, brother true, a song and blood for you. The whisper's back. This time they move out in force to confront whatever the hell is going on. Until loss of you is eschewed, with vengeance true. They race to where the whisper is echoing from, plasma, warfire, and swords at the ready, eager to kill, eager to rip apart whatever stupid shit deluded themselves into thinking they could possibly take on. It's a corpse tree, the body violated and twisted and shifted and freestanding, with the knot that was the arms and legs taking the form of branches as the entire torso has been remolded into a trunk. Vines twist along it, drinking deep and feeding off the corpse. There's vomiting at the sheer sight. Those that keep their nerve notice something odd. Her head is missing. Just gone. There's a footstep in the distance as a figure rounds the corner. My path of rage bathed homes in flames and shattered lives beneath. Countless died as I hunted strong, and my pain I did bequeath. The whisper continues and they run. 9 women turn to flee. 8 make it around the first bend to the sadistic song of snapping bones and muffled screams. Rage guided me to the sea where defeat lay for me as an army in wait. The twisted whispered tune continues, and there's a slamming sound and a quickly muffled scream followed by the sound of a few bones breaking before pausing. I know you. Oh, I remember you. Oh, this is just a treat. Is everyone I missed here? The sound of breaking bones is slower this time, and somehow always right behind the 7 surviving Orega girls. Every life pod is ejected. Every teleport pad, normal or hidden, is shattered. So they do the smart thing and get as much distance as they can and join hands to focus their own axiom. They build the energy and start to phase away, just in time for one of them to be ripped away with a scream of terror and pulled into a nearby closet. The crunching sound is instantaneous and more akin to dropping a brick on dry twigs. They wrench the door open instantly, only to find her nearly pulped body rammed into the air duct with only her gagged head hanging out. 20 strong took me on, and 8 are now gone to merely slow the gate. The whispering has started again, and they scatter. 6 run, and only 5 manage to escape the room. Oh my, Gurayor, I've been looking for you. The soft voice says, and there's muffled whimpers before the sound of snapping rings out. You really shouldn't have told me your name all those years ago. Sure, it was frightening at the time, but that just meant I never forgot. How did you stay ahead of all my search efforts? Not that it matters. I have you now. Oh, what a wonderful day. It's been a veritable who's who of who I want to die trying to scream. Who's next? His whisper is heard by everyone in the base. Oh, but you still need what's left of the song I wrote. I've added a few lines now, but of course the refrain. Oh, it was long ago. I did truly know my brother's smiling face. His whispered song begins again, and there's a scream that's cut off. You have a wonderful bite force, miss. Don't worry, though. The head taking is for those that have done extra special offense. We played and raced and laughed and sang in a loving, shining place. He whispers, sings over with the crunching of bones as accompaniment. Zul, Zul, brother true, a song and blood for you. There's a new muffled scream. Until loss of you is eschewed with vengeance, true. The bone breaking is quick, and there's some low-pitched soft humming as if the bone chewer is simply searching for the proper words. There's a scream, a thump, and the sound of him hushing his next victim. Centuries passed, and prey I lacked. The sound of breaking bones begins, until you once again did show. There's a scream again, followed by a cacophony of shattering bones. Now I'm on the attack. The last two survivors scream as the bone chewer is suddenly before them, and the rage is back. As the vines growing from under his sleeves envelop them, he smiles, colder than stone. You, I know you as well. You were the boss of the region. You were the one that sent those women after me and my brother that day. You targeted us deliberately. He whisper accuses one of the two survivors. The other is crushed to pulp in a second with her head left alone. She looks up at him in absolute horror, foaming at the mouth in sheer terror as she thrashes every which way, but there is no escape. Zul, Zul, brother true, he whispers as he gently holds her face, then begins to pull even as his vines begin reducing her entire body into only so paste. A song and blood for you. He finishes as the head comes off. The last thing she sees is a small smile on his face as she dies.